guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, we're going to be doing another one of those like astrology basics that give you a lot of bang for your buck. We're going to be talking about the 4 quadrants and we're going to be breaking them down. And as we go along with this, I just want to preface this by saying that in looking at the 4 quadrants, I really noticed that the people that were most significant in my life had the same quadrants occupied as I did. And especially, maybe not the quadrant, but they specifically had the same hemispheres occupied that I did. So this is one of those things that kind of helps you find your tribe sort of thing. And your tribe is just the kind of people that you get along with, the kind of people that you vibe with because they sort of understand you. Even if you come from different backgrounds, different socioeconomical backgrounds, or different racial backgrounds or cultural backgrounds, you just click for whatever reason. And this might be one of the reasons why. Make sure you tell me in the comments, what is your most heavily populated hemisphere and what is your most heavily populated quadrant? So let's get into it. First of all, I'm going to be popping up some images so that you can know what I'm talking about as I go along. So first of all, the chart is divided from top to bottom. You cut it along your ascendant descendant line. So that axis is going to divide the south and the north. And yes, the south is the top of the chart and the north is the bottom of the chart. I don't know why. I don't know why. That is just how it is. Everything is flipped. And then the west side is the descendant to the east side being the ascendant. Okay, then you have your 4 points. You do need to have a correct birth time so that you'll be able to know where along these hemispheres your planets are located. And in order to do that, you do need a birth time. Okay? So first, let's talk about the southern hemisphere of the chart. The southern hemisphere of the chart ends up being the top of the chart. So people that have this top part of the chart occupied, these are the people that really need to be out there in the world and be recognized. That southern part of the chart really gets defined by the midheaven. So because the midheaven is that really public place of where you want to be recognized by the world, what kind of things you want to achieve, what kind of legacy you want to leave behind in the public, that really signals whenever you have that part of the chart heavily occupied, it does mean that public recognition for your work or for your legacy or for whatever it is that you're doing in this life is going to be important to you. As opposed to somebody who has the northern hemisphere heavily occupied, those people tend to be, think about it, the MC, what's the opposite of the MC? It's the IC. So the IC ends up being, if the MC is the most public part of your chart, your IC is the most private part of your chart. It's the part that nobody gets to see, only the people that perhaps live with you, or not even them. It's just like the 4th house, the entire 4th house is your home and the people that are nearest to you in your home. But I like to think of the IC as even deeper than that. It's really just a very internal place of stability that you have for yourself. I really like to associate it with self-esteem because I do find that people who struggle with self-esteem issues do have sort of a weak core within them and they struggle to get things done sometimes because they don't have a very strong inner being. And that inner being, that's your IC. So people who have the northern part of the chart, so the bottom part of the chart, heavily occupied, these people are more private. They don't need all of that exterior validation. They don't need all of those exterior accolades. They don't need to be publicly praised. They don't need the world to validate the things that they've done. This isn't to say that they don't want to accomplish anything. This just means that the things that they accomplish, they're gonna be more private about them. They're not gonna be the kind of people to be posting a lot on Instagram or to be heavily on social media because social media is very much southern hemisphere type thing. It's more associated with the top part of the chart because it's very visible. People with the bottom part of the chart are gonna be more private about their family, more private about themselves, and the things that they accomplish are going to be kept under wraps. They just tend to be more private. And if you think about it, it really represents like Capricorn and Cancer because again, Capricorn is that sign that really needs that public recognition and needs to achieve worldly success, worldly. Think of the world and the top of the chart. The southern part of the chart is the world. And Cancer is more internal. Cancer really cares about keeping safe, keeping their emotions safe, keeping their tender, very sweet little heart safe. They don't want to be hurt. So they really are focused on just internal safety and not outward success or outward safety, outward stability. So people who have the bottom of the chart more heavily occupied do have a little bit of a Cancerian flair to them, or a little bit of the privacy aspect of a Cancer, not necessarily the emotional part, but just the privacy part. Because think about the chart line being public and private. So just the public you and the private you. So if you have the public part very occupied, you're going to be a kind of person who is in the public eye a lot and needs that external validation. And that's not a negative thing. I'm not criticizing you. I have planets there. The kind of recognition that you need is going to be public, whereas the people who have the bottom of the chart occupied, maybe their validation or the kind of recognition that they want is going to be maybe from their family, maybe from their children, from their partner, from their parents. Maybe even people in their community as opposed to the world, okay? So they're gonna be more private. So now moving on to the eastern and the western part of the chart. Let me make sure I'm pointing to the right parts. The western and the eastern, yes, the right side is the west and the left side is the east. The western part of the chart is going to be kind of like the descendant. So the western part of the chart is a part of others, of relationships, of people who they're not necessarily self-starters. They kind of need somebody to push them, to motivate them. They kind of like to make networks in order to get ahead in life. And relationships are going to be very important for these people in order for them to get things done. And that's it's kind of like Libra, the descendant, Libra. Okay, so Libra likes to work with others in order to get ahead. And this doesn't mean that they're using people. It just means that they derive energy from other people in order to move ahead. This doesn't mean that they're sucking energy out of you. A lot of people expend a lot of energy and give it off, and Libra is the one to be like, I'm gonna take it, I'm gonna transform it, I'm gonna do something with it. So that's the kind of energy that you're getting with people who have the west side of the chart occupied, so that right side. And people, on the other hand, people with the east side more occupied, these people are going to be the kind of people that are very self-motivated, self-starters. They don't really need anybody to tell them what to do. When they wake up in the morning, they know what's gonna happen. They know what's gonna go on. And who is that? That is like Aries, okay? That's like the ascendant. That's like the first house, Aries. So that self-driven energy, that self-driven passion, those people are going to be very independent, and they're the self-starters, okay? They don't need other people. Not that they don't need other people, but they don't need other people to be motivated. So you know how a lot of people need like motivation to exercise? These people would be like, I don't need anyone to motivate me. Like the people on the other side of the chart, the people on the west side of the chart would be like, oh, I'm gonna pay a personal trainer. Sorry about that. I'm going to pay a personal trainer to motivate me to do things. People with the east side of the chart occupied are going to be like, I don't need to pay anyone. I have it within me. Like that inner internal fire is like lit. These people don't need motivation. They are their own motivation. Okay, so now that we went over the hemispheres, so the southern hemisphere, the northern hemisphere, the western and the eastern, top, bottom, left, and right, we already went through all of those. So once that you see what part of your chart, what hemisphere is more occupied, do you have the western hemisphere more occupied, the eastern hemisphere more occupied? Then see, do you have the top or the bottom, the north or the south? Which one is more occupied? And once you really narrow down where your planets are located, you can put them into quadrants. And now we're gonna go over the quadrants. So quadrant 1 is really focused on the self. What do I do? What am I doing in this world? What am I doing with my life? They really think about who am I and what am I doing? That is really what they're focused on. It is very much like Aries. It has that Aries tendency because remember, it is on the east side of the chart. The east, northeastern part of the chart, right? Because remember, the bottom is north and the top is south. So these are the people that have that energy of really, they're focused on doing great things in life, and they are going to be the type of people to be self-motivated and self-starting on these projects. They have these ideas that they want to see accomplished, and they're the type of people that are out there trying to get these things done. And when they have the bottom of the chart occupied, it's really they're thinking about the self. The self is going to be more important than, relationships, which would be the other side. Q1 people are also very much about their self-identity. Creating themselves is very important to these people. They will spend a lot of time getting to know themselves and exploring who they are. They might try different avenues of like, oh, now I'm a vegan, and now I'm a Catholic, and now I'm a Hindu. Now I'm a paleo person. Now I'm this. Now I study astrology. They might try on a lot of different hats, a lot of different costumes, a lot of different ensembles, because they really want to get to know themselves and really put something on that is truly their own. And Q1 is also the introverted self quadrant, because remember that the top of the chart is the part that's out there in the public, and the bottom of the chart, the part that is more private. So these people are more private. They are doing all of these projects and you might not see a lot. These are the kind of people that they're making moves, and they're making moves in silence. They're making moves in the dark because you can't see, as opposed to like a person who would have it in Q4, the Q4 person would be posting out all over social media. You would be able to see what it is that they're doing. The Q1 person, they're keeping it hush hush. Everything is private because remember, they still have a little bit of that icy flavor because they are on the bottom part of the chart. So they have that privacy to them. So even though they're working on all these projects, they're working on birthing themselves essentially, they're gonna be keeping that to themselves. Okay, people who have quadrant 2 heavily busy with a lot of planets there, these people really are working on self-expression and joining forces with their family and really getting to know themselves through other people, because then you're already crossing that boundary between the MC and the IC. So that side already is dealing with relationships, but these are close relationships. This isn't relationships that are in the public, because remember, we're dividing the chart top and bottom. So the people who have quadrant 2 occupied are really very much focused on their friends and family. This is the introverted others part of the chart. So these are the kind of people that they like to be home because they're not really out there in the world, but they like to do stuff at home with their family, with their siblings. These are the kind of people that really have like traditions, like family traditions, and really are very busy in their work environment. These are also the kind of people who are very close with their coworkers and might have like a barbecue and invite their coworkers over and their family gets together. They're really the kind of people that are into like get-togethers. These people, they are introverted because they really aren't out there like meeting strangers or anything, but they like to be social nonetheless, as opposed to their buddies in Q1. Q1 is all like me, solo, I'm the whole party, I'm by myself. And Q2 is more like, hey, I'm solo, I'm at home, but I'm with my family, I'm with my kids, I'm with my cousins, I'm inviting my coworkers over. They're very much into their community and they're connected to other people despite being still introverted. Q2 is also very much into creativity and really expressing that creativity within that sphere of their family, of their friends. They might be into, what do they call this? Hobbies. They might have hobbies. They might be hobbyists, period. They might not really expend the energy to take that hobby and make it like a public thing, but they very much like to create things for their family, and they might be more creative on a smaller scale, as opposed, they might be like the person who is very much into like quilting, and they'll make quilts for their family, as opposed to somebody who's gonna be like, oh, I'm gonna make a YouTube channel about quilting. You know, that would be a more southern hemisphere type of thing, top part of the chart. Then you have your Q3 people. Q3 people are really focused on those deeper relationships, those intimate relationships. It's no longer just family, people that you are familially tied to. These people are really exploring relationships on a deeper level. Think about it. What house is included in there? The 8th house. They are on the right side of the chart, so it really is relational, and it no longer is introverted. It's more out there. They're exploring the relationships that they're going to have in the public. These aren't like hidden or secret relationships. These are the relationships that they're going to be known for, that they're going to be associated with publicly, because remember, that's the public part of the chart. This really forms your social identity and who you are out there in the world. Whose wife are you? Whose husband are you? Whose partner are you? And you really are, when you have Q3 heavily occupied, you really are dealing a lot. Your emotions are really tied up with your relationships, and you might be concerned with how you fit into relationships and really how those relationships shape you as a person. So who do you want to be associated with? Who am I with that is going to affect the kind of person that I am and the kind of role that I had in this life? Because remember, it's the top part of the chart. Everything on the top part of the chart is going to be public. So these are the relationships that you're going to associate with publicly. Lastly, we have Q4. So Q4 is the introverted others part of the chart, which is the extroverted self or self-expression part of the quadrants, right? These are the people that are really, they're on the left side, so they are internally focused. So they're coming up with ideas, they're coming up with projects and things that they want to do, but they want to share them with the world. They're no longer private like Q1 was. People with Q4 really like to form their identity and share it with the world. And not only that, because remember, it's including the 10th through the 12th house. So professional achievement is really important to Q4 people. And not only is professional achievement important to them, but they need for that to be public, and they also need to be in contact with society. They need to be in contact with social groups. And not only do they form part of social groups, but those social groups somehow shape them and really form a part of their self-identity. And they feel part of those groups, and they want to be in those groups, and they want to speak for those groups, and they want to really be out there in the world and showing the things that, hey, look, I made this, because it's left side of the chart. It's very me oriented, as opposed to the right side, which is more like relational, like one-on-one relationships. But the top part of the chart is really society at large. So these people are me focused, but with society in mind. So really, these are the people that are really heading social movements and are part of social movements, but also want to be known for their part in those social movements. So whereas somebody with the northern part of the chart, so the bottom of the chart, would not need that public record. People with quadrant 4 heavily occupied, they're gaining their self-awareness as they're gaining awareness of the world. So these are the people that are exploring the big truths of the world, that are really heavily involved and follow national news and just occurrences that happen throughout the world, and they want to be a part of it somehow. They have an opinion about it somehow, and they want to be part of that conversation, and they usually do this online. Public recognition is going to be really important for quadrant 4 people, and career is going to be important to them. And their career has to be something that is socially connected somehow. They need to be able to connect with the greater world in a very public way that will really bring them a lot of satisfaction. Okay, so that's the video for today, guys. If you liked it, make sure you give me a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, subscribe to my channel. I put out astrology videos every single week, and I will see you in the next one.